Deputy Youth and Sports Minister told Joy News the fund is open to anybody who has a very good proposal which can yield fruit and repay any facility that has been given to him. He said government expects beneficiaries to also absorb other unemployed youth. My name is Stephen Enti, and this is today's big story. Now, the fund is coming on the back of similar programs such as JIDA, which is embroiled in either corruption or non-payment of beneficiaries. With this new fund, Mr. Yamin says the secretariat would be set up at the presidency and would keenly monitor and assess the progress. On today's big story, we ask how sustainable and accessible will the fund be as against other initiatives under COTVET and JIDA. We have now on the telephone line Joseph Yamin, Deputy Youth and Sports Minister. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Good evening.
So I know this initiative comes at a time that majority of Ghanaian graduates are complaining of unemployment. Should we be applauding your efforts?
Well, Stephen, I would say yes. Yes, in the sense that this was one of the promises of the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, when he told Ghanaians to vote for him and assured the youth that he would, as part of the measures of making sure that we have a lot of our youth employed, he will want to set up a fund. So when you go into the NDC Manifesto 2012, it stated clearly under youth and sports that this fund will be set up. And so, if true to his word, the fund has been set up, then it means that we should be not only grateful to him, but should see it as a means of trying to solve the problems that faces us today.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that you yourselves who are bringing the initiative thinks that it's a good idea. But the key question is that presidential initiatives, most presidential initiatives in Ghana have not done exactly too well. So what is the guarantee that this one will fly?
Well, the fact that yesterday's one wasn't successful doesn't mean that today's one will also follow suit. But in this world, we learn from our mistakes. And so anytime you put a proposal together and you find faults with it, you then upgrade yourself, prepare yourself well. I always use the computer system to battle this point, where you have an operating system running your computer. There's a virus that is breaking to attack the operating system, not to make it function well. Then somebody else also writes an antivirus to come and counter the virus, making the program a strong program as it used to be. And so we've come to realize that some lapses, especially in terms of monitoring, in terms of getting access to whoever is taking these loans, happens to be the problems of the past. And so,
right, we're listening, sir. Well, I think we have lost the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports on the telephone. We're trying to raise him back on the line. But if you've just joined us, what we're dealing with on today's big story is that the president has set aside 10 million Ghana cedis to be put into a fund which is yet to be launched, really. And the idea of this is to enable young entrepreneurs and young people who have great ideas and need money as startups to consider applying to this fund. We'll get him back onto the telephone so he can tell us he can tell us the modalities for which people can access this fund, and then later he will also tell us exactly how many people this fund is expected to benefit and how sustainable it is, really. We have a couple of questions we'll put to him, but we'll now be very soon joined in the studio by the founder and executive officer of the Graduate Initiative Africa, Malcolm Asamoah. We're trying to get him ready, and we will speak to him. This is today's big story, and if you've just tuned in, we're making efforts to get back the minister on telephone. So, Malcolm, It's great to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
This is good news for you, right? The president is setting aside 10 million Ghana cedis for young unemployed people. Like, I mean, your association graduates, unemployed graduates. This should come as good news.
It is, but before I comment on that, I would like to say that my organization is not unemployed graduates.
Unemployed, all right. I better not lump you in that category. You're not happy to be described as unemployed graduates?
Not at all, because we made up of young people from diverse backgrounds. Some are employed, and others are not employed. But we don't consider ourselves as unemployed association.
All right. So, I mean, good news, bad news?
50-50. Good news in the sense that we need such a fund to assist young people go into self-employment. The other side is that, you know, there's something now that we hear in the media from about government is that let's create and share.
Loot and share. Create, loot and share.
Yes, something like that. So if this initiative will become, at the end of the day, will become like that
one of those
JIDA and others that we've heard of, then I think it is bad.
Okay, we have the Deputy Minister back on telephone. We'll try and engage him. So thanks for your patience, and we're getting you back. Now, I need to find out from you the modalities that are being put in place. I know this is yet to be launched, but I believe that it's in the offing and will soon be launched. But what modalities would be put in place for accessing this fund?
Well, like you rightly said, the fund is yet to be launched, and when it's launched, all these modalities will be.
Right, I think we're having technical challenges sustaining the telephone with Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, which actually vexed the question of whether this is sustainable. So one of the key issues you are concerned about, Malcolm, is whether this can be sustained and whether this won't be another channel of fueling corruption, right? Yeah,
that's what we are very much concerned about. Because if you take a look at various programs that government has initiated over the period now, you can see that those programs have not been able to chalk up a lot of success. All right. So we believe that if this program or initiative is not managed properly, then it will become like that of the others.
One of those.
Yeah.
So really, what do you want to see? I mean, I know that you stated clearly your worries. You're worried that this might not reach the correct hands, those who rightly deserve it. But what do you want to see? Is it a fund you want to see, or you want to see pragmatic effort from governments and agencies and institutions in creating enabling environments for job creation?
Now, just having a fund is not a solution to solving unemployment among the youth.
But what is?
Now, it takes a whole lot of things. Now, if you have a fund, it means that you can go and access capital for business startup. But beyond that, we don't have the enabling environment. Let me give you an instance. A startup takes some time to be able to really sustain itself. Now, immediately you start, government is on you to start paying tax. But big companies come in, and then they give them tax holiday. So we want government to come out with, better programs and better support to be able to, give us that enabling environment to be able to start and
comprehensive strategy, not just a fund.
Not just a fund.
So the Deputy Minister, Joseph Yamin, is back on, and we fingers crossed. We hope that we can keep you on for a while. So I was asking that. I mean, you were telling me that when the fund is launched, the modalities will be made public. But I'm concerned that if some funds that have been in the hands of Corvettes, JIDA, etc., have not been exactly managed well. So there are concerns that this could become one of the tools to fuel corruption. Your reaction?
Well, that is why I earlier said that that statement, loot, create and share, is an unfair statement in the sense that if you should benefit tomorrow, would you say that you were not fairly assessed and given the facility, or would you say that you are going to add up to deepen the level of corruption in the country? Yes, of course, people take undue advantage. We know in this world that some people wouldn't want to take advantage. There are people who have come to multimedia and today are nowhere in the media sector. But there are people who have come through multimedia and today are higher up, the media fraternity. People are working in big institutions bigger than this. So it is just Ghanaians not able to take advantage of whatever policy that will come. And we sometimes misuse it. But that is not to say that everybody in that sector misuse whichever opportunity that was given to that person. But like I rightly said, we have learned certain things about what has happened previously. And this is a fund different from what we are talking about. And this is also one fund that is clearly under the office of the president to be monitored. We are hoping that every Ghanaian comes on board and help us to make this fund.
But Mr. Yamin, the fact that it is under the office of the president is not necessarily a guarantee that its monitoring and evaluation will be more effective. I'll give you an example. The Ghana AIDS Commission secures funding directly from the office of the president, and they've still been cited a lot of corruption under the Attorney General's, Accountant General, sorry, auditing reports for last year. So the fact that it is under the office of the president really should be making a lot of people worried.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, if you entertain any fears, any worries about it, I mean, you have every right to entertain it. But this is yet to be launched and fun. And let us not spend much of our time talking about whether it is going to succeed. We'll be able to start.
I mean, so you don't want us to shoot it in the foot before it is launched?
Of course. I want us to, I mean, be talking about the possibilities of it. I mean, how it will come. Then we will be talking about whether it is making the needed impact that really brought the policy into being when it's really launched and taking effect.
Right. So what do you see as the possibilities? I'm asking this on the back of the fact that Malcolm Samoa here in the studio, who is the founder of Graduates Association, it's saying that, well, setting up a fund is not the only thing we need. We also need systems that will ensure that the fund that is created will be, one, beneficial, and that the young people who access this fund will not be unduly taxed out of business.
Well, that is a good point. But again, you will not be fairly assessing the policy to be able to come out with some concrete evidence as to whether it will be like yesterday or it's going to be a different issue, just because the fund is yet to be launched and to take off. And so why don't we exercise that bit of patience and again look at it from this angle that some funds are going to be made available for graduates who want to enter into the private sector. The difficulty in securing some funds to set up their own business, there's the opportunity that 1, 2, 3 or 4 people may have an opportunity to where they couldn't have access anything like that and go into it and come out. I mean, definitely we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 people coming out.
Right. I think that we've lost you again, but one of the key questions that I was going to just ask you before you bounce off was whether where the president is going to source the funding for this from. But I do hope that when we're able to bring him back, we'll continue with the discussion. We're also joined on the other line by Senior Ajabing, who is a labor consultant. But before we go to Senior, Malcolm, you heard the deputy minister saying that it's not fair for us to begin to shoot the program in the foot before it starts. So all your doubts that this could be another tool of fueling corruption, this could only be a fund by its name and won't go directly to the people, including you getting the money and being overtaxed unduly. Perhaps you're being too harsh. Perhaps you are impatient to wait for the program to roll out before now criticizing.
No. Not at all. I believe that the minister did not really talk about in that regard.
Address it adequately.
Yeah, because we are concerned. We are, let me say, the potential beneficiaries. And if we talk about other programs, those that the programs were actually made for did not even enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we are equally, concerned about this particular initiative. Now, let me say that this is not only just for graduates.
Yes.
But it is for the whole
everyone who has a great idea. I mean, if you have an idea of manufacturing bicycles with bamboos, for example, you can access that fund.
Definitely. If only your business can become profitable and you can pay back the loan you've taken, then you can access the fund. But we are very much concerned. We want government to know that the young people, we are so much discerning. And we are listening, we are watching. It's just that we've been patient to see if there will be change. So we want to let government know that if this program will become just like the others, then it's better they put it on hold. Because we cannot just be watching whilst they take due advantage of this particular.
Okay, right. So let's get onto the telephone line again. Senor Ajabing is a labor consultant. He's joining us now. So, Senor, let me ask you, this fund that we're expecting the president to launch it very soon, do you find this as the alternative to job creation, especially considering that we don't have reliable systems, really? JIDA has come. COTVET receives a lot of funding to support several initiatives. As of today, I'm not sure government has made very clear and open the benefits, real benefits of some of these programs. So let me first get your concern or thought about this.
Well, thank you very much and good evening. I believe that you said, which I agree with, that the precedents set by management of funds and the sustenance of various funds for various purposes has not been that successful, or the story has not been, that bright. And so then, with such a precedent, then it is easy for anyone to look onto this fund, which is about to be set up, as going to belong or happen or be tailored alongside the various challenges and failures that we've witnessed in other funds. But I think that would be too hasty a decision to take.
Right.
I believe that the initiative
you mean too hasty to compare the potential success of this with others in the past? I mean, I think that would be fair, actually, because I mean, if you're to launch it, and we are also looking at how successful others have been and see whether this will also be that successful, that would not be too unfair, really.
No, I'm not saying that it will be unfair, but I'm just saying that it will be too hasty to shoot down something that could be potentially helpful towards the tackling of the issues of unemployment. Now, I think that setting up a fund is important, but does not resolve the problems of unemployment.
Great.
And that fact has to be done.
I mean, Malcolm here has said that already, and so then, I mean, looking forward, what would have been the best alternative? Is it the fund or the creation of other means through which young people can create their own jobs?
You see, truth is that job creation doesn't happen by chance. In every development circumstances, governments have to make deliberate effort to intervene in processes and procedures and policies to create jobs. And so setting up the fund is okay, but it only handles the issue from the entrepreneurial point of view. Now, what we will need to see government do is to actually set out deliberate interventions that we can all interrogate and contribute to as a job creation agenda. I mean, you saw in 2008 about the financial crisis in the U.S. Where people were losing jobs. There were intentional, deliberate interventions to create jobs and to sustain jobs.
Right.
And you know, I have always said that the creation of jobs alone is not even enough, but it is an equation of creating the jobs, making sure that we have skilled people to be able to fill those jobs, and then finally to sustain those jobs in a job security environment. So just tackling the issue of job creation alone is giving us these headaches. And then the two other aspects or the leg of the entire job and security program would be left unattended to. And the fund would just be a small aspect of the solution. I would give it like maybe 5–10%, but the major interventions that are needed to create jobs, we have not seen yet, and we are waiting for that.
Right.
But let me quickly add that let's not shoot this initiative down, because it will also benefit some. So while we are looking at this, then we push for more intervention. But let's not cynically shoot it down as if it is not important.
Right. Quickly, Senor, I don't have lots of time, but I need you to quickly tell us that, considering that we've seen other ones fail, I mean, I emphatically raised that from the beginning. We've seen funds in the hands of COTVET being utilized, and accountability is not exactly clear. Funds which go to JIDA, also accountability issues of corruption, etc. So under these comparisons, what do you think should be the systems that must be in place before such a fund is launched, so that it can give Ghanaians the assurance that this has the potential of working?
The first one is that the policy must be transparent. It must be all-inclusively driven, and it must involve the potential beneficiary, like our young friend in the studio.
That's right.
Once it is transparent and it is inclusive, then we are sure that it has the mechanisms of implementation, effective implementation, monitoring, evaluation, and so on and so forth. We will also be able to have indicators as to how well the fund does from year to year, from audit processes and so on and so forth, so that we are sure that the fund meets its objectives.
Right.
Now, these objectives are very, very important and must be contributed to by all stakeholders.
Right, Senor, I'm grateful for your time. I'm sorry, but this is all time will allow us, and we thank you that you were able to make time.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. So, Malcolm, let me wrap up with you. I mean, we've heard all the issues. Senor thinks that it's too early for us to shoot it in the foot. I mean, we must be patient. Now, moving on, what is it that your association and other associations like yours want to see in place? You said clearly that, just like Senor emphasized, that fund is not the only thing. What else do you want to see?
Beyond setting up fund, we'd like government to come up with other
initiatives.
Yeah, or initiatives to support the fund.
Like what?
As in, for instance, as a young person, you know, in Ghana, for someone saying that I want to employ myself, people don't really like it. Immediately you want to start something like that, people say, no, you can't do it.
Go get a job.
Go get a job. So those who will be in charge of such a fund and the entire government, from the civil servants upward, they should be prepared to listen to the people
and offer counseling support
and help them
and guidance, so that people will do the right thing. You don't just
tell them this will not work.
Yes,
it may work. So you just help them, and then also moving to the tax aspect. I think those who will be accessing this fund and other funds, as young people, they should be given some tax.
Government should take it easy on them, not squeezing the money out
because
to pay taxes.
It takes about 1 to 3 years for a business to really
set up.
Yeah, so government must give us that kind of allowance for us to work.
Malcolm, we're grateful, and we thank you very much. So Malcolm Samoa is Chief Executive Officer of the your group is Graduates Initiative Association.
May I just add a quick one?
Yes.
We don't want to rely on government, because government will fail us. We have decided to set up our own fund known as Graduates Fund. So we are relying on that.
All right, thank you. And